We know that can change in the state of Michigan. There's Jim Scarcelli on your screen, in your ears, if you're listening on the podcast. Oh, Scar, what a great day. How are you?
Beautiful day out there. Got the windows open, airing out the house, and the sun's out. And Michigan starts spring ball next week. And life is good. We're getting ready for the Big Ten tournament. We're going to regroup, and we're going to play like we were when we were winning games.
There you go. I was half expecting you to have some kind of shirt on with cut-off sleeves that said "Sun's out, guns out." You know.
This is the Michigan High School All-Star Football game, Denny. I played in the very first one, 1981. The two greatest coaches in Michigan football high school history were coaching that game. They were Al Fracassa and John Harrington. They were the two coaches. There were a couple other guys, but I played in the first one. Then I coached in it in like 2000 or 2001, where Drew Stanton was our quarterback. So I won as a player, and we won as when I was coaching. Coach with Wiltshire and Kurt Richardson from Clarkston. Anyway, they're still doing the high school all-star game, and it's a cool thing for the kids.
Yeah, Fracassa at Brother Rice.
Yeah.
And Harrington was
legends
at
Farmington Harrison.
Farmington Harrison. That's no longer there. Actually,
That's right.
We would play Farmington Harrison in the Western Lakes Associate Athletic Division back in the day. Those things have been reconfigured, like a lot of different things, like the Big Ten and all that. Well, you see, if you're watching what we, at least in the outline, are going to talk about, you got spring football that's right around the corner where the guys will be starting. Got some non-conference kind of conversation going on. Michigan's got a big non-conference game this year with the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll start with Michigan basketball. First things first, Scar. They've got the Big Ten tournament bracket is out. Michigan is at the bottom. They tied for second in the Big Ten in the regular season with Maryland, but they lost to Maryland last Wednesday, so the 2 seed goes to the Terps. So the Wolverines are the 3 seed, and they will play on Friday. They will play either Purdue, USC, or Rutgers. 3 teams. They beat all 3 of those teams. Of course, they split with Purdue, so they lost to the Boilers as well. What do you think of their draw? You already said, new life, new chance, new season kind of thing, but what do you think of their chances and their draw?
We just got to get back to playing confident, and Purdue is good, but, I think I'd almost rather play. It might be a better matchup for us than than Illinois. Illinois, I don't know. But
agreed.
Yeah, we just got to get back to getting our confidence. And we'll play late Friday night. And hopefully Purdue will get a hard, tough game from somebody. You never know. Rutgers might beat them, but, that they're run down a little bit. Denny, this is where we need Walters. So this is where you need depth. You need 9, 10 guys to play 3 games in a row. That's why Michigan State is really, they're really – in a position to do this, because you got to play 3 games in a row. You better have depth, and you better be. That's one of the reasons we started to struggle was when we lost Walters. You had Wolf, Vlad, and Cheddar all playing tired. There was instead of a 4-man rotation, it was 3. But listen, we can just get hot, play smart. It's those are games we can win, man.
Yeah, I think it's a game they can win too. I'm with you on that. I think they should be able to. Purdue will have played a game if it is Purdue, if the seeding holds out, and Michigan did split with them. It's not like they're going in with no chance, but they got to get back to playing, definitely protecting the ball better. And how about shooting better? That would be a nice thing to do too. You get hot.
You got to take a close look though at some of the games. Some of it was uncontested, okay, but Michigan State was contesting things, and they were rushed threes. They weren't, really clean, total clean. Set your feet, and a lot of that is attributed to their defense. But yeah, we got to shoot the ball better. We got to defend better. But it's still so many turnovers. That first half yesterday was. So many freaking turnovers. Frustrating.
Yeah, it was. You're talking about yesterday's game, the turnovers. Dusty, I asked him about the turnovers today. He talked about some of the charges that got called on Michigan that went down the turnovers. But, it looked to me like Danny Wolf was trying to push it a little bit too much, and he started turning it over. And when you're lackadaisical with your passes and you're playing opponents like Michigan State, who pride themselves in their defense, you turn the ball over a lot. You got to tighten it up a little bit when you're playing tougher competition when it comes to passing the ball. You just can't be so laissez-faire with it. Hopefully they learn. One thing that they have done, if they've gone through a little bit of a gauntlet here and they haven't shot well, maybe all of that can get them in the right frame of mind for Friday when they take on Purdue or USC or Rutgers. On the screen, Scar, you probably did you watch the whole game?
Oh yeah, Danny. Let me just say this about the game. You know, Michigan State, they're the best rebounding team in the Big Ten. And you get what you emphasize, and I remember Brady Hoke always saying that as a coach. You can tell they emphasize rebounding. They get position, they take position. And they get away with moving screens more than anybody I've seen. And I would really like to get the answer to this question, Denny, because I coach both football and basketball. Izzo is a screamer, and he starts screaming from the second they tip the ball off on the officials.
Yeah.
Dusty May does not believe in that philosophy. I would like to know the psychological impact. If you interviewed 1,000 referees, how many guys is it irrelevant whether the guy screams, or how many guys are intimidated, or how many guys screw the guy that yells? But I think when I watch Michigan play, the physicality they play with and what they get away with, moving screens, taking position, throwing guys around, it just pisses me off that I just wonder if the refs are sometimes intimidated. And you know, a guy I would love to talk to real quick I'd love to talk to Sadi Washington, because he coached at Michigan. I'd like to hear his take on the differences between the programs, the Beeline, Howard, and then Izzo. Some of the things that he emphasizes, because you're going to play these guys, Denny. You better come swinging. You better come fighting. You better come ready to rebound. And I'll tell you the truth. As a football coach, Michigan works on Ohio State year-round. Okay, we're going to have some Michigan State. We're going to work on them. We're going to work on Ohio State year-round. If I'm coaching Michigan at basketball, I'm going to work on these assholes year-round. I'm going to work on rebounding and doing things that you cannot just get shoved around when you play these guys.
Yeah, well, you said a lot there. I would think that it's going to be, when it comes down to officials, that each one of them are going to be a little bit different. But Izzo's been around so long that you do build up a cachet with respect, and they know what is happening there, and they know he's a Hall of Fame coach, so you're going to get a little bit more leeway when it comes down to that. So one thing about
it, what does that mean, leeway? What do you mean? They're going to get calls, or what do you mean, leeway?
I think that they can get some more calls. I mean,
well, that's bullshit.
They're going to have respect for somebody. Well, they're human. I mean, that's the thing, Scar. If I'm
reffing a game, Denny, if I'm reffing a game,
you're gonna go in with the best intentions, and I think the majority of these guys do. They go in, they want to call a fair game, but they're also human, and they know. It's why home court is so effective. They also know what makes the coaches tick. If they're going in there, you and I were coaching a game, and it was St. John's, and Rick Pitino was over there. You're going to say, hey, I know Rick Pitino. He's one of the greatest of all time. And it works. It's a psychological thing. It can work on you. You would like to think that these guys, are tuning it all out, but, they are human. So all of those things factor in. I think.
Okay, so you're telling me if you were a ref, you think that the loud in-your-face guy, you might be intimidated?
I wouldn't call it intimidation. I would say that he gets a certain amount of respect for the amount of time.
I wouldn't give a flying shit if I'm reffing.
Yeah, you wouldn't, but you're human, and at some point, the crowd affects you, the coaches affect you, everything affects you.
Anyway, I just see it bothers me.
I know, I hear you, and I think with you're right on about how Michigan State plays. But if you're a coach, you want your players being aggressive. Aggressive wins in sports. You're forcing the officials. You're setting those screens like you're talking about.
I understand. And I think that's Izzo's philosophy. He's like, we're gonna have really, really questionable illegal screens every damn time, and we'll just hope you only call 1 out of 8.
Well, that's right. And aggressive a lot of times at the poker table works, and it works a lot in sports. And, to me, I go back to that first game that was played in Ann Arbor just a few days ago, whatever it was, 14 days, 16 days, whatever it was, count it down. But a lot of that game, Michigan looked like they could stand toe-to-toe and look like actually the better team in that game. But the two teams, one – trajectory is shot way up, and the other one is dropped off the table. Shooting, turnovers, free throws. I mean, all of it. And maybe the game is worn on them, and then certain guys are pressing, but man, State is just shot up. All right, Scar, when you get to the end of the game, MSU has this tradition. Were you aware of the tradition?
Oh, yeah, Danny, I've seen it for forever. And I never really thought about it, okay? I just never really thought about what they did, how they did it. But I do know that for a long time, as long as I've been watching basketball, at the end of games in college basketball, since I was first started watching it, the coach will take a timeout and they'll call off the seniors at the end, right? That's been going on for a lot of programs for a long time. Am I right so far?
Yep, I would agree with you.
All right, so here's my take on this thing. Again, everything matters because I've been there as a coach, player, and dealing with post-game, pre-game, all the little nickel-dime stuff that creates problems that you want to eliminate. So here's my take on it for Michigan State. I have absolutely no problem with it if it's the length of a timeout, that you do it and it's not longer than the actual time of a timeout. Okay, if it's an extended period of time, I have a problem with it. I do. I think I honestly have a problem with it if it's longer than what is a timeout. Period. If you want to, I don't give a damn if you want to kiss the court, you want to dance in front of the cheerleaders. I mean, don't disrespect the opponent. Don't dance in front of our bench, but don't take any more time than what is allowed for a normal timeout. If it goes beyond that, I think it's a bunch of bullshit. Do it after the game when the other team is in the locker room. If you want to sit out there and suck each other's ass for 20 minutes, but don't be out there longer than the length of a normal timeout. That's my take.
Yeah, and I haven't gone through with the stopwatch, but it did seem like it took longer. They did call one timeout, and the fiddler went over there with the guy standing where they were, and there was no issue, and he went off. And then you could see it looked like Akins was gesturing over to the guys like, hey, get off the logo. And it also looked like Holloman then was gesturing as well. And then Holloman took exception and I guess sort of tried to, move him physically. The first thing I think of is if you win the game, you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about, State doing their post-game celebration. So it's in your hands if you're Michigan. I'm mostly okay with both sides and their actions. Whether or not, Fat Brooks, who was recruited by Michigan State, knew that was their tradition or not. They said that he didn't know, and I could see Kason not knowing. But it didn't bother me that they were standing there. If you go back to when Mateen Cleaves kissed the court, they were playing Michigan. It almost looked like he was kissing the feet of Kevin Gaines, the Michigan guard. They was that close. They could have still gone through with what they were doing with the Michigan players who were just standing there. Now, I don't know if Michigan was over there telling them, "I'll kiss my ass." Who knows what was being said there. I didn't actually think it was that big of a deal with what Holloman did. But if I was a Michigan State fan and if I was Tom Izzo, I would tell him, say, look, you're inciting something here. We want you to play in the Big Ten tournament. We just won the game. We're the regular season champs. What if they pushed you back? And next thing you know, there's a punch. It was pretty close where you say, well, I wouldn't have gone that far. Well, you shoved him. The next thing is punching. Easily I could have seen a situation that could have escalated, and then that would have affected these players in the Big Ten tournament. So you don't want it to get that far. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Let me ask you, Because Dusty May said he didn't know about this tradition. Scar, should he have known about this tradition?
He probably was aware of it. He just, that's a good answer. And bottom line is, let's just get this straight. If it goes longer than a 1 minute timeout, you're okay with it.
Real
simple question, Denny. If it goes longer than 1 minute and you're the coach of Michigan or any other team in the Big Ten, are you okay with it? Because I'm not.
Yeah, well, it's never just a timeout. They do it where they're subbing guys in, and
that's a bunch of bullshit. I never thought about it because I know what leads to fights as a coach, and I just don't. It should be accomplished within one timeout. The way everybody around the country introduces their seniors, on that last, because we've been looking at people doing it for forever, right?
Yeah.
But if it's longer than that. I mean, what kind of, where do you draw the line, man?
Yeah, well, so if you were the Big Ten commissioner, would you say in the future, Tom, could you have your guys go within the boundaries of
one timeout?
What if they're just what if you're just subbing in a guy during a foul? You have to go immediately.
As long as it's in the normal flow of a game. I don't have a problem with it. It's a normal flow of a game, and it's not taking any of my time. If I'm getting my ass kicked by 20 points, I don't want to be looking at some happy horse shit of all these guys celebrating. Okay, now let me just flip it. Let's flip the bullshit script. Let's say Michigan's beating them by 20 or something. I mean, does that give the opponent the opportunity to do some crazy stuff too? I know that it's probably not a good thing, a good spin on it, but I just think it should be in the normal flow of a game. It should not delay the game, and I don't think it's disrespectful for Michigan State to do that on their court for a senior. I don't. I just think it should be in the normal flow of a game, not longer than a normal timeout.
Yeah, and I'm just going. I didn't think about it. Like I said, I didn't put a stopwatch on it. It felt like it took longer, and with three guys, it definitely felt like it was taking longer than a normal flow of the game. Could you say that they should do it with more of a purpose and whatever? You're starting to put a timing on there. The other side is the traditions are great for sports, but now you do have this heated rivalry. The one thing about the logo, it's 2/3 of the court. They still could have gone about their business without telling Michigan, hey, get off our logo. And I looked down and said, your logo's big ass logo here. Take it easy with that. So when it came down, when it came down to that, so I tend to agree with you. I think Dusty probably did know what was going on, but then. He said he didn't, but so you got to take a coach at his word, though, that he said he didn't know. He said today he didn't grow up with a Sparty foam finger. He didn't know what was going on. But
I'll tell you right now, if I'm a coach in the Big Ten, I'm going to bring it up at the meeting and say, hey, Izzo, can you do that shit within the length of a one timeout and be done with it? Because I don't want to be sitting there while you do that at your goddamn banquet. You want to kiss everybody's ass. I don't want to look at that. Should be one time out. I'll give you that. That's it. Just like everybody else. Enough of this, man. That's my take on it.
Yeah, well, I think you made your point clear when it came down to it. Here's another bit of basketball news. Trey McKenney, who's one of 3 Michigan signees that will be coming in next year for the Maize and Blue. McKenney today wins the coveted Mr. Basketball award. That award started back in the early 80s. Michigan, I think Henderson was the first one. That Robert Henderson? Is that his name?
He's a friend of mine, Robert. I'm going to go see McKinney tomorrow, I think, at UD, Denny.
Oh, nice.
They play down there. So hopefully, listen, Michigan State hit the jackpot with Richardson's kid. He wasn't like, big time super recruited kid. He's a difference in that team. We got to hit the jackpot with one of these freshmen we bring in. Hopefully McKinney's that guy.
Oh, McKinney could be. I was watching some tape of him over the weekend, and it reinforced, because somebody asked me about him last week, and I said, I'd watched a little bit of tape, and what I remembered that has reminded me of Joe Dumars when he played for the Pistons, the way he shot, the way his game was overall. And then I watched it again. It was a different tape, wasn't the same one. And I saw what I was looking at. He does remind me a lot of Joe Dumars when he played for the Pistons. So there's that part. In addition, when I was looking through, you're right about Chase Richardson for Michigan State. What I didn't know is you remember Carlos Boozer, who played for Duke?
Yeah.
He's got 2 twin boys, and they play in Florida. I'm not sure what the school is, but they were holding up 4 fingers. They had won 4 championships from freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. But also on that team with the Boozer twins was another Richardson who visited Michigan last week. And I don't know, it would seem like that would be a really tall order to be able to land the other Richardson when his brother has gone to Michigan State, his dad went to Michigan State, and I don't know exactly what year he is. So it's at least
that kid changed their season, Denny. That kid is playing. He's as good as any guard in the Big Ten. That little freshman. That Richardson kid is good.
Chase Richardson, yeah.
He plays with confidence. He shoots the ball. He takes it to the hole. Yeah, we got to hit the jackpot with some of these kids we're recruiting, man.
I'm with you on that. Look forward to you going to see Trey McKenney. Hey, folks, if you want the latest on Michigan basketball recruiting, football recruiting, spring football, which starts next week, what's going on? Well, here I am to tell you, like I do every show, that you should be joining up the Maize and Blue Review. Join up by going to michigan.rivals.com to get that done. We'll see you over there. We look forward to seeing you over there. And with that, we do get to spring football just a week from tomorrow. It starts. And what's top of mind with you when it comes down to Michigan and spring football?
Yeah, just getting a feel for what's going on in that quarterback room, Denny, and that's going to be so critical. I sensed there was, I look at the comments. We read the comments, you and I, after what people say, and I guess some people sense some doubt or that I maybe wasn't as confident in how our team was going to be next year. I mean, Denny, we realistically, if we get good quarterback play in the spring, and we get to look at it, and then we get good quarterback play game one, we could be the favorite in every game we play. If we get good quarterback play, our defense is going to be that good. We're going to be really, really good on defense. Our edge is going to be as good as we've ever been. We get good D-line play. But anyway, and I think our offensive line is going to be good. We got good tight ends. We got running backs. But, to go to Oklahoma, because I said, the line was 8.5, right, for Michigan? Over under 8.5. Wasn't that the line?
I don't remember you saying that. So, yeah.
The line was, so if they win 9 games, you're good. But, if we go to Oklahoma and we're a 2.5-point favorite, that's a great accomplishment. To go to Oklahoma and be a 2.5-point favorite, to go to USC, be a 2.5-point favorite. Those are like legitimate lines. And if we get to that point where we are, a favorite on the road at USC, at Nebraska, at Oklahoma, then that means we're a pretty damn good team. So that's what we're hoping to see early on is good quarterback play. And like I said, I think we're going to see a lot of running of our quarterback. I watched this guy at North Carolina. He was not afraid to run Drake May as a valuable a player that kid was to their offense. So we're going to see more quarterback run than we have, I think, in the past.
Speaking of quarterbacks, I just saw that this domino fell. Sam Darnold, the former Vikings quarterback, he is on his way to Seattle to play for Mike McDonald and the Seahawks. Geno Smith was sent to Vegas a couple of days ago. Why is this important on the Maize and Blue Review? Well, that paves the way for J.J. McCarthy to be the starter for the Vikings.
I'd rather go against Sam Darnold than J.J. Sam Darnold was terrible against us, against the Lions that last game in Detroit. He couldn't make a pass. Yeah, I'd rather go against Darnold than J.J. J.J. will run and be more accurate. So we're Lions fans, but we're always going to cheer for JJ. But
yeah, I was kind of hoping
I'm surprised Mike McDonald wants to take Darnold. At Seattle.
Yeah, he was the bulk of the season. He was very good until the last 2 games that he wasn't so good. So they have to feel like he's an improvement over Geno Smith, who wanted so much more money. I don't know. I just with JJ, I was hoping they would go like with Jordan Love and keep him there for another 2-3 years before they played him, and then maybe he'd end up going somewhere else. I just don't want to see him play for the Vikings, but nothing I can do about that.
Yeah, Seattle, that's a team I watch. You got Chris Partridge over there. You got Harbaugh's kid over there and Mike McDonald. So we're kind of cheering for those guys to some extent.
Yeah, every team now you can almost pull somebody out there, somebody that
Harbaugh's got guys everywhere. Michigan's got that's a sign of a successful program.
No doubt.
Denny, I was looking at that Bowling Green job. We talked about it last week. It's kind of like irritating to me. Scott Loeffler, we talked about him. He was there like 6 years, building the program, had a decent year this past year, and then just, he was not going to be fired. They were going to keep him there, but he goes and takes a job with the Eagles. I guess you got to do what's best for you, but all them coaches are going to be gone now. Apparently, Bowling Green is hiring Eddie George, the former Ohio State running back who was coaching in the one of them HBCU schools, I forget which one, did some decent things. But I just as a guy who coached and knows a lot of college coaches, it's just, it's sad that all them bowling, because you got some Michigan guys there, Morrison's over there, all them guys are out of work. And it's just, I guess that's the business these guys are in, man.
Well, I think the business when you're a MAC fan, and I went to Eastern, is that that guys are not going to be there for long. If they have any success, they're just going to go and they're going to get picked up by someone else. And so anytime you can beat them to the punch and move on and find some way, you do that. I mean, there's not many coaches. I don't know. Maybe you could point to some. Maybe the guy at Toledo, he's staying around a little bit longer than you might expect. But most of the coaches, whether it's PJ Flack, you have a couple good years. Brian Kelly, you have a couple good years in the Mid-American Conference. You are gone, somewhere else, right?
Well, it's just the guy was good, and in no way you think those coaches they're part of trying to build it. That they think they have a secure livelihood. Now they all got to scramble and look for work. So. In fact, we talked about Vince Merrill was a name that was up for that job, but the one of the best recruiters in the country. But they went a different direction. Eddie George is got a name, and we'll see what he does.
Yeah, he's got a pretty decent personality too. So we'll see if he has success there at Bowling Green. I always know when I'm driving down to Florida on 75, look over to the left. Hey, there's Bowling Green. Right up to the.
Yeah, let me just say this too about Michigan football, that we're really doing great with some of these big time offensive linemen.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's is it Sharon Moore? He played offensive line. He wants to emphasize offensive line. I don't know what the pocketbook looks like. I don't know what the payroll looks like. All I'm saying is this, Denny. If maybe I'm just a guy that was always thinking about defense. I want to start hearing about some big-time D linemen that are committed to Michigan. I want to hear about the 5-star kid from wherever coming to Michigan. I'm tired of hearing about offense. I'm just being honest with you. I want to hear about D linemen, the 5-star kid that we got to beat Georgia for and Ohio State for. That's what I want to start hearing. Not all offensive linemen. I don't know if that's a Sharon Moore thing because he played it. He thinks it's important, but or are we just getting lucky in that area? But I'm just keeping it real. I want to hear about D linemen.
Well, I've got the guys that are coming in for spring on the defensive side from last year, and they don't come any more highly rated than the linebacker N.O.B. He was a 5-star from Rivals. I would also say the same thing. You don't get a much higher star rating than Shamari Earls, who is also in. And the kid that they ended up having originally and then went to Auburn and they flipped back, what was his name? Nathan Marshall. He's not in for spring, but he's a 5-star. So they balance it out. I know Bryce Underwood takes all of that. He should takes
I'm
all.
talking about this next 26 class.
No, I know you are. I know you are. Yeah, yeah. But I think last year at this time they only had like two. They only had two guys, Eli Owens and Bobby Kanka. I kept saying that for like 2, 3, 4 months in a row. That's all they had. And then it really started to pick up. So they've got the pocketbook. I think they will look over on the defensive side. I know that's going to happen. But no, I hear you. I mean, it's at least something to say. Going back to Oklahoma, I saw your boy, Scar. I know you're a big fan of Joel Klatt. And Joe Klatt was on his podcast, and I think he was going off of what the Nebraska coach was saying about he didn't want to play they didn't want to play anybody in the non-conference anymore. That it's not worth it for the college football playoff. It's just about picking up wins. Now you could say this before the 12-team playoff. I know they're going to go to a 14 or 16. You could say it when it was just 4 teams. They were saying the same thing, like, why do you want to play anybody? It just comes down to winning. And then, of course, our entire life, people have said, why do you play anybody in the non-conference? It doesn't matter when it comes down to the voters. So, here we are again. And, Klatt was saying something that I've always thought of, and they change so much in college football now. Why not? And his idea was take the non-conference scheduling away from the coaches, away from the athletic directors, and you have a universal scheduling when it comes down. Maybe the Big Ten office or whatever. I know you could do some different things. It would create quite a bit.
But Michigan can pay people more to come to Ann Arbor than Northwestern or some of these other. So there's so many more things involved.
There's a lot of things, but it could get done, don't you think? I used to think that never in a million years that they would pay players and all these things. But this could be a step. Instead of crying or thinking about, well, Michigan's just they're going to bring in 3 easy teams. They just want all of the home games they could possibly have because that means $25-30 million to the budget. Who wouldn't want that? Let's just have all home games. Let's just have all easy games. Now, when you talk to people that go to the games, they want to see Oklahoma. They want to see Texas. They like things like that. But what about that idea if it can happen, Scar? What if they just said, hey, should we explore this? Are you just going to say, no, too much?
Well, you have all those issues with the different teams, and that's why people want to come to Michigan. I know to get beat because for a payday that is Illinois paying the same as Michigan? Can Indiana pay the same as Michigan? And so that's why. So those are things that come into the mix in terms of the scheduling your non-league games. But I want to say this. I was watching Matt Rule and listening to Matt Rule.
Yeah, Matt Rule. There you go.
He doesn't want to play Tennessee. He doesn't want to play that game anymore. He doesn't believe Michigan should play Oklahoma. I get that. I totally understand it. From a coaching standpoint, I get the benefits of being able to win a football game, clear my bench, come out healthy, develop depth, get ready for a brutal 9-game Big Ten schedule. The SEC is only playing 8. That's a problem. Okay, that's a problem. So that's a whole nother issue. But so that's kind of the argument. If they're only playing 8, the argument makes sense that why the hell would we play a tough team in there when the other guys are only playing 8? But from a coach, I like the idea of being able to play everybody on my team. Jim used to clear the damn bench, play almost 100 guys. And that's a lot of good stuff because you develop depth. You find out what the hell you have. You build confidence with your team. But then again, as a player, Bo used to say, he liked playing Notre Dame early because it gave him an idea to understand where the hell he was as a team. I know what I got to fix. I'm not going to find that out against Northern Illinois. What am I? How good am I? How good are some of these guys? I might not find that out, against UNLV. But also as a player, Denny, I know that I was able to go to South Carolina and play a non-league game there. They were ranked 3 in the country when we played them. That was a great environment, loud, hostile crowd. It was a good experience for me as a player to play in that football game. Our guys are going to go to Oklahoma they're going to get to know what the hell it's like to play in Norman, that crowd, national televised game. So there's an upside for the players to play in that kind of a game. Now, the coach is going to worry about, getting guys banged up because I got the Big Ten season starting right away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I understand Matt Rule from his standpoint, developing depth, keeping guys healthy, get ready for the Big Ten. As a player, I like playing in some of those environments that you never get a chance to play in. So I'm kind of all over the place.
Yeah, there's a couple other things that pop up there. I'm thinking if you were a coach, I remember Lloyd Carr, if he was playing a Washington first, he'd say, I've got my guys' attention all summer long because they know, like Michigan this year knows that they're playing New Mexico in the first one. The 2 years, it was 21 and 22 when Michigan had nobody in their non-conference schedule and Harbaugh was having the battle royale with the quarterback. I mean, they played nobody. The team knew that. They knew they didn't have to be ready to go until week 4 or week 5. If this year they don't have that luxury, they know that Oklahoma is coming up. So maybe you get their attention more as a coach. Because
Danny, I tell you, I love Coach Carr. He's a friend. I love him. But I just think as a player, you're battling and fighting and scrapping and lifting and running to be a starter. And if you are a starter, you're trying to hang on to that position as you go through training camp, whether you open up with New Mexico or you open up with Notre Dame.
Well,
I get what he's saying. I understand what he's saying, but there's also the concept that if a guy's a highly motivated guy and he wants to win a championship and fight like hell with his teammates, he's going to bust his ass in June, July, and August in his strength training and in preseason camp. Whether you open up, because you know that if it ain't game 1, it's game 2. Or that, eventually, I don't know. I understand what he's saying, but I also know that, you're getting ready for a season in terms of your conditioning and then your preseason camp.
What if I'm a player or a coach and I look at Michigan's when they those back-to-back years when they didn't play anybody and I said, hey, you can come in and play against Hawaii and UConn and New Mexico, or you could say, hey, like he could say right now, this year we're going to Oklahoma. Next year, Oklahoma's coming in, and then the following year, we're going to Texas.
Oh, you're talking about from a recruiting standpoint?
Recruiting standpoint, you're saying, but in the Big Ten, so big. You got so many big games there now, but you're gonna emphasize everything that you can. You say, hey, you want to?
No, I get it. People use that. I remember getting recruited. They were playing Hawaii, but it was right after I left. It was the year after I left. Guys will use that in recruiting, but. Anyway, just I understand what Rule is saying big time in terms of keeping you really get to keep your team healthy. That's the big thing too.
Yes, that's true.
Like we're going to play Oklahoma and we're going to have to treat that. We're going to have to run our quarterback.
Yeah.
You want to go into those games and you play New Mexico. You don't want to run your damn quarterback or get them out, get them out of bounds. You don't want to have to use those predetermined runs where the guy can get beat up against someone like that. But Oklahoma, it's here. Let's go. What do we got to do to win?
Yeah, they're always personal choices. If you take 100 Michigan fans and none of those Michigan fans go to the games or have tickets to the games, I would guess that if they're younger fans, I can put a lot of little attachments to it, but. I've noticed that younger fans that don't go to the games, they just want wins. They would rather not play anybody in the non-conference. You talk to some people that have season tickets, they're saying, I can't sell these. Nobody wants to go to, watch New Mexico play or CMU. We've seen that. Who cares? Stay at the tailgate. And it's not that. But then you get a game like Oklahoma, and it's so different when you attend those games. The intensity from 6 o'clock in the morning until kickoff, it's just the whole vibe, the whole anticipation. And it really starts, if it's not in the summer for the fans, take the players and the coaches out of it. Everybody's talking about, Notre Dame, this game. Look at Oklahoma. Everybody, and then you get into the season, when you have these cupcakes, everybody's like, oh, well, everybody else plays them. And there's not as much excitement. Not as much excitement.
You're right. I get it.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it. Great job, Scar. What else?
I think what else? I looked at Vince Morrow. Danny, this guy was Bowling Green was looking at him. One of them, he makes $1.3 million at Kentucky. Bowling Green could only offer him like $450,000 to be the head football coach. So that's why you got guys that are at Kentucky, or wherever. Why would Wink Martindale take a job at some school like some of these schools? He's making $2.5 million. But no, listen, my confidence level's high for this team. I don't want to have any doubt with our listeners. I'm confident, but even being a 2.5 point favorite at USC, at Oklahoma, those aren't guaranteed wins. So. But I'm confident with our run game, the players we got coming back. We're going to go take a look at spring football here in a little bit, and cheer our Wolverines on Friday night, Danny. Go blue, baby.
There he is, Jim Scarcelli. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us. And we'll see Scar next week. We'll see you on Wednesday. And, Michigan in the Big Ten tournament on Friday. All right, Scar. Great to see you.
All right.